All right, welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today, we're going to be tackling something that I think is kind of a spicy topic. We're going to be talking about differing sex drives in relationships. And,
Yeah.
we love to go to the source here. And that source is Reddit, specifically.
Hmm.
Ramathiasol. This particular post had over 800 comments on it. So, yeah, it's something that people are really passionate about.
Oh, AITA. I can already imagine the spectrum of opinions that we're going to find in there.
Absolutely. So, this one's interesting. We have a 29-year-old man who is wondering if he's the jerk for basically
Yeah.
relieving some tension solo. While his 31-year-old partner is at home, they're only intimate a couple of times a month. He's usually the one initiating, and she often turns him down.
It's interesting that you say relieving tension. That already kind of hints at like the biological realities that we
Mhm.
have to acknowledge here. Men do tend to have higher sex drives because of testosterone. And there's some proven benefits for men when it comes to frequent ejaculation.
He even brought up the whole biology thing. He said something like, if she enjoys it so much when we do have sex, wouldn't she want it more often?
Hmm.
And a lot of the commenters were like, the men especially were like, dude, testosterone, it's a powerful force.
Yeah. There have been studies that have shown that regular ejaculation can reduce stress, improve sleep, potentially even lower the risk of prostate cancer. But it's really important to remember that all those benefits are specific to men. For some women, actually, masturbation can make things like period cramps worse. So everybody's body is different. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right. And it's not just about the physical stuff either. There was one comment that I thought was interesting talking about how for guys,
Hmm.
not ejaculating for a few days can really shift their whole mindset, make them way more focused on sex.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
It highlights how much biology can really influence our thoughts and behaviors. Now, back to our Reddit poster. How did his partner react to his solo activities?
Well, she walked in on it and basically told him it was disrespectful to her,
Yeah.
that he was doing that while she was
Right.
home.
So this is where it gets really interesting. We have his biological needs potentially impacting his mood and focus. Then we have her feeling disrespected, which could be tied to a bunch of factors, right? Different libido, relationship dynamics, past experiences, lots of things.
Absolutely. And with over 800 comments, the comments go everywhere. Some think it's completely fine, others are outraged, some offer solutions. It's really like a crash course in how differently people view this.
Yeah, it's great. That's what I love about these AITA posts. They reveal so much about societal norms and how varied they are.
Okay, so let's get into the woman's perspective a little bit more.
Yeah.
Why might she be feeling so uncomfortable?
Well, there could be so many reasons, and it's important that we don't make any assumptions. Libido naturally varies from person to person. It's not as simple as men want it more. Maybe her hormones are fluctuating. Stress can impact everyone's sex drive differently. Maybe she's dealing with body image issues. Who knows?
Right. Plus, let's not forget the whole cultural mess. Around women's sexuality, there's so much pressure and shame and mixed messages.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And a lot of women internalize those messages, and it impacts their desire and their comfort with sex. One commenter actually said something like, sex starts in a woman's head, and if she's overthinking things, she's not going to be in the mood.
So we have these two people with valid feelings, but very different needs in this situation. How do we even begin to untangle this?
Well, this is where communication becomes absolutely essential. And luckily, the Reddit wisdom actually had some good starting points, I think.
Oh, like that person who said they tell their partner, hey, can I have some adult time? Feel free to join if you want.
Yes, it's direct, but it's also non-pressuring. Others mention using phrases like doing a thing or taking some alone time, which can help desexualize it and make it less about rejection.
So is finding a way to communicate your needs without
Mm,
making your partner feel obligated or uncomfortable?
exactly. It's about respecting boundaries, but also being open about what's going on for you.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's be real. Talking about sex can be super awkward for some people. It's vulnerable. There's a potential for judgment, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and that's where I think approaching these conversations with curiosity and empathy is so important. Instead of like accusing or blaming, trying to understand what's behind your partner's feelings, asking things like, what's making you feel this way? Rather than like, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It's about creating a safe space for both people, to be honest, without feeling attacked.
Exactly. And if those conversations are just too tough to navigate on your own, that's where I think therapy can be a real game changer, either individually or as a couple.
So many commenters were recommending therapy,
Mm.
and specifically sex therapy. Is that something that you would suggest too?
Absolutely. Therapists can help you unpack underlying issues, communication patterns. They can even suggest techniques to improve intimacy. And with sex therapy, it's about so much more than just like the act itself. It's about addressing desire discrepancies, body image concerns, any baggage from past experiences. It can be really powerful.
It's like having a coach for your sex life.
Hmm.
One commenter even recommended the book Come As You Are. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. It really dives into the diversity of human sexuality and helps people understand their own desires and needs.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. So beyond therapy and books, what are some practical things that couples can try if they're dealing with this?
Well, several commenters talked about scheduling intimate time, which might sound kind of unromantic, but it can actually be really helpful for busy couples or those with different schedules. It takes the pressure off of spontaneity and makes sure that intimacy stays a priority.
That makes sense. And it doesn't always have to be about intercourse, right?
Of course not. There's so much more to intimacy than just that. Cuddling, massage, sensual touch, even just talking and connecting emotionally can be incredibly fulfilling.
Expanding the definition of intimacy. I like that. Now, going back to the Reddit post, there was a lot of debate about whether it's ever okay to masturbate while your partner's home. What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, yeah. That's a complex one. It's definitely a complex issue, with no easy answers. Some people believe that it should always be a private act, while others see it as totally normal and healthy, regardless of whether their partner's around.
Yeah, the comments were all over the place on that.
Yeah, and that just shows how much individual boundaries and relationship dynamics come into play. What's acceptable for one couple might be a total deal breaker for another. So again, the key is open communication, figuring out what works for both partners without judgment.
One commenter mentioned that they would be fine with it, but only if their partner asks for sex first.
Yeah, I think that's valid. It's about feeling desired and prioritized. Seeing your partner choose solo pleasure over intimacy with you can definitely sting, especially if you're already feeling rejected.
So maybe the solution in that case is just like more clear communication. Instead of assuming that your partner is not interested, just directly ask.
Exactly. Sometimes it really is that simple. It could be as easy as saying, hey, I'm feeling really turned on, want to have some fun. And if the answer is no, that's okay too. It just opens the door for a conversation about each other's needs and expectations.
It's all about that open dialogue, even when it's about tough topics. And let's be real, this particular Reddit post sparked a lot of strong opinions about who was right and who was wrong. But there's no one-size-fits-all answer here, right?
Absolutely not. Every relationship is unique. Every individual has their own needs and boundaries. It's not about judging or blaming, but about understanding the complexities of human relationships and finding solutions that work for everyone involved.
It's about respecting each other, even when you have different needs and desires, and that can be hard, especially when you factor in societal pressures, personal insecurities. It's a lot to navigate.
It is, but that's why it's so important to remember that you're not alone in this. Reading those Reddit comments, it's clear that a lot of people are dealing with these same challenges.
It's almost comforting to know that. Even though we don't always talk about it openly, differing sex drives are actually really common in relationships.
Totally. It's something so many couples face, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And remember, if you're struggling, seeking professional help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It shows that you're willing to invest in the health and happiness of your relationship.
So true. It's like going to the doctor for your physical health. Sometimes you need a little expert help. For your emotional and relationship health, too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, sometimes just knowing that you're not alone in these struggles can be incredibly helpful. Seeing how many other people are going through similar things can make you feel less isolated and more hopeful.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The
Yeah.
biological factors, the societal influences, the communication tips, the resources. What would you say is like the biggest takeaway for listeners who are dealing with this in their own lives?
I think the most important thing is to approach these conversations with open hearts and minds. Be honest with yourselves and each other about your needs and expectations. Listen with empathy and avoid judgment. And if you're struggling, don't hesitate to seek professional help.
So open communication, empathy, and knowing when to ask for help. Those are some great takeaways. And speaking of getting help and finding resources.
Oh, are you going to remind everyone about Shauna's YouTube channel and
I guess
podcast it?
absolutely. If you're enjoying this deep dive, you will
Yeah.
love Shauna Pelag's YouTube channel. She has amazing videos on relationships and self-love and all sorts of good stuff. And her podcast, Voices of the Soul, is a must-listen. It's
Yeah.
full of insightful conversations. about the human experience.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. She has such a warm and engaging style, and she's not afraid to tackle the tough topics. It's like having a heart-to-heart with a wise friend.
Exactly. And she's always encouraging her listeners to be part of the conversation. So head over to her YouTube channel and leave a comment, letting us know what you thought about this episode. Have you faced similar challenges in your own relationships? What strategies have worked for you? Let's all learn from each other.
I love that. The more we share our experiences and perspectives, the more we can learn and grow together. And hey, while you're there, why not hit that subscribe button and share this episode with someone who might benefit from it? Let's spread the knowledge and create a more open and understanding world.
Absolutely. Sharing is caring people.
Hmm.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little something to ponder. We've talked a lot about the challenges of
Right.
differing sex drives. But Dole, what if you and your partner are perfectly in sync, but something's still off? What if the desire is there, but the spark is missing?
That's a really interesting point. Desire is just one piece of the puzzle. When it comes to a fulfilling sexual relationship, there's connection, communication, playfulness, even just feeling good about yourself and your body. Those things can have a huge impact on the spark.
Exactly. So if you're in that situation where you and your partner are on the same page, desire-wise, but something feels missing, it might be time to explore those other areas. Talk to each other, experiment, try new things, see what reignites that flame. It's a journey of discovery. And sometimes the most fulfilling experiences come from stepping outside your comfort zone and embracing the unexpected.
It's like anything else in a relationship, you have to keep nurturing it and trying new things.
I love that. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the biological factors at play to the societal influences, the communication tips, and the resources available.
Yeah, I feel like we gave our listeners a lot to think about and some tools to use in their own life.
I hope so. And remember, if you're looking for more insightful conversations about relationships, sexuality, and the human experience, be sure to check out Shauna Pelage's YouTube channel and her podcast, Voices of the Soul.
Yes. Shauna is a fantastic resource for all things, relationships and personal growth. She creates such a safe and welcoming space for these important discussions.
So go subscribe, like, share, and keep those conversations going. And most importantly, remember that you're not alone in these challenges. We're all in this together.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring.